Welcome to GateCrashers, a podcast dedicated to kicking open the door to your next favorite thing. Our mission, our creed, our code is this: to make all things more approachable and accessible to everyone. We want you to find a universe that you'll fall in love with. My name is Kate McGowan, and my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Patrick Dickerson, and my pronouns are he, him.
And I'm Dan McMahon, and my pronouns are he, him. Kate, you have a really good voice for this. Like I was listening to the intro, I was like, God damn, that is a stellar audio voice.
Thank you.
And what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the Winter Olympics. So it's I probably, when this drops, it'll be maybe hours before competition starts for the 2026 Winter Olympics. This might be our first ever sports episode.
Ooh.
So that's exciting.
Unless you have done one, I think it is the first sports episode.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about plenty of sports anime, but no sports.
What an amazing thing to have two gay people for the first sports episode. I think that's really beautiful. That's inclusivity, baby.
Yeah, definitely. So the Olympics are coming up. It is going to be in Milan and Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy. And so just a couple of things that we're really excited about: the fact that it's the Olympics.
Are you both big Olympics people, just like in general?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kate's insane, but I think I am more insane to a completely different degree, though.
I think Patrick's like an Olympics completionist, the way that like some people are, they try to watch every World Cup game. That's definitely Patrick with the Olympics. For me, It's like I'm so deeply invested in the drama, I think. And so I love the high drama sports, and the fact that like if you mess up, you don't get another shot maybe ever in your life. If you do, it's 4 years from now, I think that's like, talk about stakes.
Yeah, definitely. And I do, like Kate said, a completionist is probably right. I make it my goal to watch the gold medal final of every event. And I've successfully done it. I did for Tokyo, for the Summer Olympics, Beijing for the Winter Olympics, and Paris, the last one for the Summer Olympics. I was able to do it. The partial work from home that I have has been a big help in that to do that. But yeah, I am legitimately insane. I get very little sleep for 2.5 weeks. I'm an insane person about it.
Was the French one? Is that where they had they were going down the river and the Minions were there? That's the extent of what I watched of the last Olympics. I saw the Minions, hell yeah, the Minions. That's it. No. I watched trampolining. I really like trampolining.
Oh, trampolining's great.
Yeah, I just didn't realize it was a sport until a couple Olympics ago. I was like, hell yeah, that's the one I'm going to watch. And then winter, my only experience with it I have two. I watched it live when I was younger once, and I saw the horrific bobsledding thing.
Oh, the luge, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to watch the Olympics anymore. And then in college, my buddy Tom Maggio and I were at a regional leadership conference for our fraternity. We were supposed to be at leadership panels or whatever shit they did in those, whatever they were. We didn't go to any of them because we were sitting on our bed in the hotel room, both watching curling.
Incredible.
Neither of us have any, we don't know anything about curling. We just could not look away. It was like we watched the entire event. Probably not great for learning or improving ourselves. But you know what? It was a great experience. So have you both always been into, where does that come from? Where do you, is it a pro? What is the drive?
I've watched, so my parents both watch sports, so that definitely helped. And so my dad watched a lot of would like watch Olympic stuff when it was on. So like I had seen stuff kind of early. It did help that I lived in Atlanta. I was 3, but I lived in Atlanta in 96 when we hosted the Olympics. So my dad he actually saw the 100 meters final, which I think is really cool. He went to baseball because he's a big baseball guy. And so he's like was always kind of, in particular, my dad's kind of always into sports, so he would like have it on. And I think it was like 2006 when I was in middle school that I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna sit down and like watch this." And it was just like I was like immediately hooked. I remember watching so much ski jumping that I was like, "What is happening? This is an insane sport. They're launching themselves off." And since then, I've like every time the Olympics is on, it's like my life stops. And I just watch it all.
I would have to say for me, I think my earliest Olympic memory is actually the 1998 Nagano Olympics, because I was also 3 in 1996. So I can't say that I remember the Atlanta Olympics. But in that Olympics, I remember watching figure skating, specifically Michelle Kwan and Tara Lipinski. And Tara Lipinski was, I think, like 16 years old at the time, and she kind of famously pulled it out to win the gold medal. It was crazy. I must have been in kindergarten at the time, like very young. But I had mentioned something about like liking figure skating or being interested in ice skating. And my grandma, this is so grandma coded, she cut out an article of Tara Lipinski like winning the gold medal, and that was in my bedroom, and like mailed it to me in snail mail, because it was 1998, and I had that in my bedroom as a kid, even though I was not a figure skater as a child. But I just had that picture of Tara Lipinski. So I think, that was like an Olympic moment that they will play in commercials forever.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like I really locked in 2008, because that's when the first year I think you could really watch events like online, on streaming, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and 2008 was Beijing, which was like even people who like don't watch the Olympics, like
I watched some of Beijing. I remember that one.
It was a great Olympics.
The opening ceremonies like really like
are the drums.
Yeah,
that one rocked.
Yeah. So
is there a big
Michael Phelps?
Yeah, and Michael Phelps. Yeah.
Is there a big opening for the Olympic? Like, does the Winter Olympics still have the same like grand? Okay, sick.
It does. Yeah.
Typically, they'll go ahead, Pat.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, they have opening, closing ceremonies that are still just as crazy, really, as the summer ones. The Summer Olympics overall is a bigger deal because there are now over 30 sports that compete at the Summer Olympics, and the Winter Olympics, it's like, I think it's 16 this year. So it's like, twice as big in the summer, if not really more than that. But still, it has a lot of the grand ceremony and all that still occur at the Winter Olympics, because it's still a multi-billion-dollar project.
It's wild.
Yes. Definitely very expensive. And typically they do the opening ceremony like on ice, kind of ice capades, Disney on Ice style. Maybe those aren't super relevant references in 2026.
I feel like Disney on Ice is always relevant. I feel like it's always it's like what's the dance show that goes around constantly?
Shen Yun.
Yeah.
The cult dance.
The cult show. The cult show. Yeah.
Cult show.
But this is the Olympic. But this is Disney on Ice.
Yeah.
A little bit close. Okay. So you both are the experts. Tell me about this thing. Like what the history, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So the Olympics is what's called a multi-sport event, and it is 2.5 weeks of international sport competition where the best in the world in their sport get together and compete for medals, the gold medal, silver, and bronze, first, second, and third place. It's where the, kind of, it's something that is kind of so ubiquitous in kind of the culture of the last 1.25 century at this point, that it's like affected the way we say, some of the idioms and phrases we use. And it really is kind of, for a lot of athletes, it is the ultimate goal. It is the dream to go to the Olympics, compete in the Olympics. Even for like some of the big star athletes in like the NBA, one of the dreams they have is competing in the Olympics and winning a gold medal in basketball. It's a huge deal for a lot of sporting athletes. And it is, the history of it is actually based in ancient Greece. So the Olympic Games were actually something that happened every 4 years in ancient Greece, where athletes from all the different Greek city-states would get together. I think it was first in like 800-ish BC. They got together, all the city-states got together and competed in a variety of events like horse racing, wrestling, running, boxing, a lot of events like that where they competed completely nude. And that it lasted for like 1,200 years. It wasn't really until about the fall of the Western Roman Empire that kind of stopped. As things got more Christian, they decided maybe the sports festival to Zeus where they competed naked was like not okay, I guess. I don't know. Something lame.
And what a mistake that was.
And what a mistake. Yes, definitely. And so anyway, they kind of disappeared about 400 AD. And in the late 1800s, Pierre de Coubertin, who was a Frenchman, he, kind of revitalized the idea as what we kind of see as modern sports started to become more popular among the kind of culturally, where sporting became less about things like hunting and more about things like track and field, swimming, horseback riding, equestrian, archery, things like that. And so he got a bunch of people together, mostly Europeans, of course, and they established the modern Olympic Games, which were first hosted in 1896 in Athens, Greece. And so that was the first summer edition, if you will. It was originally intended just kind of as as one thing every 4 years. And then in 1924, they decided to add a winter version for the winter sports that couldn't be competed at the same time as the summer ones. And then so the first Winter Olympics were in 1924 in France, in Chamonix. And since then, they eventually got to a point where they alternated the years. So now we get an Olympic Games every other year. And so the ones coming up are going to be in Italy. And it's going to be pretty cool. It's a lot different now than what it was back in 1896 or 1924. But some of the sports and events have been competed the whole time.
Every 2 years. There's an Olympics every 2 years, not every other year.
Yeah, in the even years. Yeah.
In the even years.
In the evening years.
In the election years, yes. Unfortunately.
Who pays for them now? Is it just like everyone?
So it kind of depends. So countries will bid to host the specific Olympic Games, and most countries it is paid for by like the government will fund a lot of it. And then there are sponsors that help pay for part of it. But like for LA 2028, which are the next Summer Olympics in LA, is actually being funded mostly through private funds. But that's just kind of that's something that's more unique to the U.S. because of all the capitalism.
Yeah, because of the people who control the world.
Yeah.
All of that was news to me. All of that was new to me. Like, I never really, I think about the Olympics. Like, I'm like, oh, they're cool. I just never really knew the history. So that was actually really interesting to learn.
If I could add one thing too, I think one of the frequent criticisms of the Winter Olympics, I think it's worth addressing, is that it is kind of very, because of the nature of winter sports, unfortunately, they are less accessible. And I think that is one of the criticisms you hear every time the Winter Olympics comes up. It's like, oh, well, skiing's so expensive and they only do it in European countries. And I think that's true.
It's very white.
It's very white, for sure. What I think is great about the Winter Olympics, though, is that it introduces these sports to a global audience. Like nobody in rural Tanzania, for example, is going to pick up skiing if they never hear about it. And that's not to make light of like the systemic issues that prevent somebody in rural Tanzania from starting skiing. I certainly don't think it's nothing, but I think, I don't think that means that we can't highlight like the global diversity of sport. I think that's something really exciting. And one of the trade-offs is that a lot of smaller countries do better in the Winter Olympics than they do in the Summer Olympics, just because they have these like very niche ecologies that allow them to be really good at, Nordic style skiing.
Like Liechtenstein, which is the only country to have only Winter Olympic medals, and they're all in alpine skiing because it's a tiny little country in the middle of the Alps.
Never even heard of it until right now.
The other thing too about the Winter Olympics that is worth noting to that effect is it is very white, but also a lot of Asian people compete in the Winter Olympics as well. South Korea, Japan, China are all very competitive in a lot of the winter sports, and and as well as people of more Asian ethnicities, if you will, from places like Russia and Kazakhstan and those kind of places that are often get overlooked in the conversation. And they're putting in that is a degree of representation that happens at the Winter Olympics. But to Kate's point, it's certainly a lot less diverse than the Summer Olympics, where every single country goes to the Summer Olympics. That's obviously not the case at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Some places just aren't built for winters. Like you're not going to be alpine skiing in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
like it's
exactly. not.
Yeah,
not
like
yet.
it's there's no easy way to access that. There's no what's that, Xanadu, the place in North Jersey where they have the giant indoor ski thing. What is it called now?
Yes.
Mall of America. No, Mall. What? Yes. I don't know what the mall is, but yeah, like there's no. It's not an easy thing to just do in some places that are like extremely hot. But like Russia, you have the climate that allows you to do it. So it is cool to see different places get to have their like time to shine when everyone else can do all the things. That some things are like, it's just not.
Yeah, and it's good that you brought that up specifically, because one of the weird things about the Winter Olympics is it's kind of half snow and half ice. So all of the ice events, I think, and Patrick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way this Winter Olympics is structured, the ice events are going to be in Milan in indoor rinks in the city, whereas the snow events are going to be more out in the countryside.
Yeah.
By necessity of being on a ski resort.
Yeah. And actually, the reason that there are actually two host cities, usually there's only one. There are two here because what they're actually doing is the venues for this Olympics are actually spread across northern Italy. So it's like one ski resort that always hosts an alpine skiing race every year is going to be hosting the alpine skiing events. And so they're kind of, instead of having everything in like one set of mountains, it's kind of across the Alps. So it's really cool for the people who live in all those different places and being able to experience that level of competition. It does make it a bit harder for tourists, but tourists are usually a problem. So
where can people watch the Olympics? I know it's like not just like on one channel anymore.
Yeah, so NBC Universal has the streaming rights in the United States for or the broadcast rights in the US for the Olympics. So it is across NBC's networks. I know NBC and NBC and USA Network will both be showing stuff live, as well as everything will be on Peacock. You can watch every single event on Peacock. And they also will post highlights usually to YouTube, not the full competitions necessarily. But you should be, if you just want to be like, oh, what happened in the Olympics today? You usually can find some clips like that on YouTube.
You're definitely going to need Peacock, though.
Yeah, if you want to sit down and watch it.
All of the events.
How long is it? Is it 1 week or 2 weeks?
So it is 2 weeks. So the opening ceremonies for these are on February 6th. But competition actually starts February 4th. We're just for like some prelim matches and curling and ice hockey, the start of the team event and figure skating start a couple days before. But the opening ceremonies are the 6th of February and the closing ceremonies are February 21st. So it ends up being, 18 days.
Got it. Just like try to find a free trial of Peacock for a month and get it that way. Yeah.
I think it's a grand Olympic tradition. Peacock knows that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. They do also have, if you're trying to justify getting a Peacock account, there's at least one potential Oscar nominee I think is going to be on Peacock. So,
and the TED show's on there. That's really.
Oh,
that too.
That show was really good.
It's really good.
It really surprised me how good it was.
Shockingly good. Like, just I cannot believe it became one of my favorite shows. Like, I didn't even really like the Ted movies that much. Like, I don't really care for McFarlane, but like that show fucks. So if you got a month, also watch Ted.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Who do you suggest watches who do you think will like watching the Olympics?
I mean this so genuinely. I really truly think everybody would like watching the Olympics. Now, are you gonna
I agree.
Are you gonna like watching every single sport that is in the Olympics? Absolutely not. I hate basketball. Basketball, I think, is so boring, and I watch like the highlights of the gold medal games for the men's and women's in the Summer Olympics. Like that's all I watch of basketball. I just don't spend my time on it. And so if you're going to get on and you give alpine skiing a shot and you're like, I don't really like alpine skiing, don't give up on the Olympics because alpine skiing is just one of the things that's there. There's also snowboarding or figure skating or curling or hockey. There's so much that is there that is I think you'll be surprised when you that there's a sport out there. Even as a non-sports person, you're going to be like, wow, this is a lot of fun.
I would say also, specifically if you're rolling with the LGBT and you like gymnastics, say, definitely figure skating, ice dance in particular, they're gonna appeal to you. I mean, I think it's in the same vein. Artistic sports. I also would say that if you're somebody who has kind of a morbid fascination with intense injuries, you're gonna like those snowboard, half pipe, ski jump, because they really do wipe out big time in those sports. Some insane crashes that they just hop right up from sometimes. It's not why I like the event, but I know it has its appeal.
Yeah. There's also, for example, the Fast and Furious movies. You got to check out bobsleigh. It is so cool. So fast. The Team USA sleds are literally designed by BMW.
Oh, damn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there really is, I think, something for everything. And again, all the snow and ice stuff, not great. I promise you, just wait until LA 2028 and you can watch cricket or you can watch sports climbing where it's literally competitive rock climbing. I mean, there's so much out there.
That's wild. I think another reason people could watch, so there is something interesting about watching people who are at the top of their league of whatever they do. Yes. They are the best of the best. This is the world this is on the world scale. Like, this is the platform for these people to show off the peak of human physique, human, like,
Yes.
it's just cool to see really good people do cool stuff. Also, the thing about the snowboarding and stuff, like, I don't know if we're all pretty much the same age, but like when I was growing up, like snowboarding and all that stuff seems so cool. Like the fucking X Games, like that
Yes.
stuff is just always like
Yeah. The
Tony
90s
Hawk.
extreme sports.
Yeah, like I just love that shit because I grew up in the 90s. I'm like, yeah, that's the coolest sports ever.
For
So
sure.
like snowboarding is just like cool to see. Like, even though I know
Let's drink
I
a
could never
Mountain
do it.
Dew.
Yeah, hell yeah. Crack one like right off the half pipe.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just interesting to see people like at the top human form. Like they're like they have trained and done everything to be in these positions for this specific thing. So
Exactly.
it's just cool to see them get to do their thing.
Yeah, and there are people at the Olympics who are doing things that literally no other person ever has done before.
Yes.
And some of the people, you know, like, okay, there are the great athletes, right? Like, and we'll mention some of them, I'm sure, that are like the best of the best. But, you know, there are certain disciplines, right, where they can allow for greater participation of countries than others, right? Just because of the nature of the sport. And so there will be people who are maybe like the only person in their country really doing that sport. And they don't have sponsors, and they don't have, you know, like they're not from the United States where they can go to this like elite training facility in Denver where they're training at high altitude so they can get more red blood cells or whatever, and, you know, have a team of doctors checking them every day. Like, it's just them, and they work at like a fucking gas station. Am I allowed to say the F word?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. They work at a fucking gas station, and then they train in the evenings, and they have like a family that they have to take care of, and those people make it to the fucking Olympics. And I think that is incredible. I think that sometimes to me that's more impressive than, say, like, you know, the people who are the Tom Brady's of their respective sport, where they have like this perfectly optimized lifestyle. Like,
The devil.
I couldn't be a great athlete with a perfectly optimized lifestyle, but I think sometimes it's more impressive to be great with not all of those opportunities.
I think it's about that type of story too, like getting to learn about people that you never would have seen otherwise. Like, you wouldn't get to see, like, was it a couple years, well, maybe it was last year, the big cricket tournament, and America like went way further than anyone expected. But these people were just like, the one guy just like worked at a tech company, and they're just like normal. There's normal people. They're not the Tom Brady's and like people like that who have been, I don't know, bred in like a facility to be this way.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's like so much soul to, like, there's like, I don't know, there's something about rooting about someone who's like doing the thing and is like the underdog, and like it's just cool. There's just like so many stories like that in these type of sports, and these type of events. Also, it's like, again, the world stage. Like, it's just cool to see the world doing something together that's not potential nuclear extinction.
Yes.
Big positive.
Yeah. And it is really cool because really outside of the World Cup, at least in the context of what's shown on TV in the US, we don't really see kind of the international competitions that's like shown on TV in a lot of the world, but not as much here because we, you know, watch the NFL instead.
Yeah, we call our national champions worlds because we're so America focused.
Yes.
We don't even consider other countries most of the time.
Yeah, but like I think it's like really just like the World Cup and like Formula One, because I know people have gotten really into that, is really like the only like international sports that are on like ESPN like a lot of the time. But like being able to like sit down and like watch a competition, and it's like the Netherlands and South Korea and the US and Canada and Australia and China and Italy all like competing side by side, and you know, and these people are compete together all the time, know each other, are celebrating each other when they win, are so excited when somebody does something. I won't forget it was 2018 in the Winter Olympics in South Korea where oh gosh, Kate, what's her name? Mirai Nagasu was the first woman to land a triple axel at the Olympics. And she's
American.
a US athlete, and the Canadians were so excited for her, were cheering for her, and they couldn't believe that it happened. And it's just like it's such a cool moment that really shows we really could be, united as a species and celebrating one another and not, murdering each other instead.
Big positive.
Amen.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the Olympics themselves? Like what?
Yeah.
Before we get into it, I just looked at the list of sports. Skeleton. That's just the name. That's so sick. It's
scarier bobsled.
Yeah,
it's
just a human sled essentially. It's very scary.
Yes.
I've done it once in my life, not with the piece under me, but like being rid like a human sled. But it's terrifying. I've been looking at pictures of it. It's just like, holy shit. It's probably fast as fuck too.
Oh, it is. It is. Remind me after this. I'll have to send you the TikTok where they put a GoPro on the head of their on the front of their helmet, and so you see what they see going down. It's horrifying.
Yeah, I would shit myself. It'd be over. All right, so new events. Like, what's new this year that wasn't in the previous one?
Yeah. So a couple of new things. So the nice thing about the Winter Olympics being smaller is they've been adding new stuff to every Winter Olympics for the past since like 1998. They've like been consistently adding more and more. It used to be like 60 events, and they're up to how many events are there this year? 116 events. So it's really expanded, and there are 16 disciplines this year. So the sports are alpine skiing, biathlon, bobsleigh, cross-country skiing, curling, figure skating, freestyle skiing, ice hockey, luge, Nordic combined, short track speed skating, skeleton, ski jumping, ski mountaineering, snowboarding, and speed skating. So the new stuff this year is a new sport, ski mountaineering. This is the first new sport added since 1998 when they added snowboarding and curling. And ski mountaineering is so most of the skiing events at the Olympics are going down a hill. Ski mountaineering is going up the hill.
Like you're like walking, like you're on the skis and like you're skiing uphill.
Yeah. So they added the men's and women's sprint and the mixed relay. And so how this works is, they're on skis and they ski up the course. It's not, I mean, the elevation change in the sprint, which is a short race. It's only it's like 5 minutes, I think. The elevation change is like no more than, I want to say 800 meters, which sounds like a lot, but for these athletes is not a lot because they sometimes do a race that's like 2 hours. So it's a 800-meter elevation change, and they go up on their skis that have skins. They call them skins on the bottom that give them better traction. They get to a point where they have to take off their skis because the course is purposely too rough to ski on. To have to take off their skis and then hike up a section, and then put their skis back on, keep skiing up, and then when they get to the top of the hill, they then have to take the skins off the bottom of their skis and ski down. And
can I ask? Oh, go ahead, Patrick. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I ask? My understanding of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is a new sport to me. This is something that people do, like out in the wilds, not outside of competition. It has been a big thing in mountaineering for years for people to climb up a mountain and then ski or snowboard down the mountain, right?
Yes.
So is this just kind of like the logical extension of that in a competitive arena? Or does this kind of have like a tradition that's separate from that? Because I don't know.
I think it is tied to kind of the idea of, I think it's like a combination of growing out of that, where it's like kind of the athletic pursuit, if you will, of wanting to climb up the mountain and seeing down it yourself, as well as kind of tied to like ski rescue, I think, in some way as well.
Mm.
Needing, if you're somebody who's a ski rescue, you sometimes have to go up and not just down. And so I think it's kind of tied together like that. But yeah, it has become just fully an athletic discipline of its own. And really the biggest reason that it took a while for it to be added was that it just took a while for it to get popular outside of Europe. Because it needs to have a decent enough international reach for it to be added to the Olympics, and it finally kind of got to that point. It is only tentatively added for this Olympics, but it's looking pretty promising to be on the program in 2030 as well, because France is hosting the next Winter Olympics, and France is like one of the top two countries in the sport, so people expect it to stay for 2030 as well. So it's certainly an interesting one. I've been watching it to get kind of more acquainted with it. And it's interesting, and it's different enough from the other skiing events that I think people will be, it'll be a nice change in programming as well.
Almost like mountain biking in the Summer Olympics, where it's like,
exactly,
there's the tension of the course itself.
Yes, exactly.
That's rough. Having that sounds like a terrible day for me. Like having to go all the way up and like go down, because the ski lifts, like they had to, someone at some point was doing this because they had to, but then making it competitive. It's like a race uphill and then downhill. That's wild. Does everyone have the same set of skis? Like, is it a uniform thing, or could I technically have better skis than like someone else?
So there are regulations around equipment, but there usually is at least a little bit of variance in it, that sometimes the access to better equipment can give you an advantage. It's something that we have been seeing in track and field recently. There's a new type of sneaker that apparently is really good that helps with running. I don't know
the Vaporfly, yeah.
I don't know the science behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a new sneaker that's better, and the people who were like allowed, and the people who were using it were running faster, and then eventually everybody ended up, all the top athletes are using them, even and it's like to the point where you basically need to have them to win now. And there was a similar thing with like swimsuits in swimming. That were to the point where a type of swimsuit fully got banned because it was too good. But there is a little bit of variance that's allowed, and I don't know enough about the ski differences because I've never gone skiing myself to know anything about it. But I do know that there are definitely some strict regulations in certain sports, depending on different things, like in ski jumping. How close your suit is to your body is regulated so that it doesn't flare out too much to catch more wind to keep you in the air longer. And in fact, there was a
flying squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there was a whole scandal about it at the last World Championships, where the Norwegian team's coach purposely like made the suits too big to help the Norwegian team, and he got banned for 18 months for it. So
I remember that actually.
Yeah, it was wild.
Every time I think of like winter sports and stuff, I always think of The Simpsons, where Ned comes down on like the skis and he's wearing the skin tight bodysuit. Yes. And he's like, feels like I'm wearing nothing at all. And he's like, you could just see his ass. And then later in the episode, Homer's like, yes, stupid, sexy Flanders. Like, that's what I think of when I think of these. Like, but you want to be as aerodynamic as possible. Yes. Like, I would be down that mountain lubed, nude, and ready to go. Like, it's got to be as fast as possible.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think, honestly, the only sports, at least at the Winter Olympics, where they're not fully spandex clad is like ice hockey, curling, and figure skating.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody else full spandex, as tight as it can
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
For aerodynamics. Oh,
Yeah.
snowboarders.
And sexiness.
Snowboarders.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, snowboarders, they'll wear all the baggy
Yeah.
stuff still.
The cool stuff.
And actually, it's really funny because then they also will all wear their AirPods and listen to music the whole rundown, which is funny because they'll like
So
pull out their phone
amazing.
and start their playlist and then ski or snowboard.
I would love to know what they're listening to. I just think that would be so interesting. Okay, so ski mountaineering is the new sport.
Mhm.
What is the sport you're both most excited to talk about? Because I'd love to get into those.
I think actually, okay. Do you want to address some of the sports before figure skating, Pat? That we're
Yeah.
excited about.
Yes.
Just because I do feel like I just want to be conscious of. I just want to be conscious of when you have to edit. Maybe because I do have some things I wanted to say about hockey and Nordic Combined.
Yeah. Definitely. I will say, we will keep your entire rant about figure skating in. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not cut. People came for the Winter Olympics. They're going to get the Winter Olympics.
They're going to get it.
Okay.
They're going to get it.
If you want to talk about Nordic, can you explain what Nordic Combined is? Because a lot of these things are like, I don't know what the hell this is. Like, it's just new information to me.
Yeah.
I think Pat should do that, but I think in order to explain what Nordic Combined is, you have to explain what cross-country skiing is, too.
It's true.
Right?
It's true. Yeah. So Nordic Combined is one of the two multi-sport events in the Olympics. So, triathlon in the Summer Olympics, biking, swimming, and running. It's kind of similar to that. Nordic Combined is a combination where they compete in both ski jumping and cross-country skiing. Ski jumping, I think most people know, you go down the big hill, fly in the air. Person who flies the farthest is the winner. There's some math involved, but that's basically what it is. Cross-country skiing is essentially distance running on skis. It is basically there's a little bit.
Seeing Dan's face.
There's a little bit, it's in the mountains still, so there's like a little bit of hills and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, they are competing in a race for a specific distance, and it goes all the way up to 50 kilometers for the individual cross country skiing events. But for Nordic Combined, they do a jump off the ski jump, and then they ski 10 kilometers, which is 5-ish miles for the American, 6.2 miles. Yes.
One of the things that I think is critical about Nordic Combined, right, is that cross-country skiing and ski jumping are kind of dominated by different countries, right? Cross-country skiing is, popular particularly in countries as like a mode of transportation, right? Rather than like as recreation. And then they started racing. They're different style skis. It's popular in countries that are cold most of the year, but not necessarily mountainous, right? So in other Olympic disciplines, I promise I'm building to a point. In other Olympic disciplines where you have like this combination things, you're looking for like an all-around athlete, right? But like in sport climbing in the Summer Olympics, for example, they had an all-around discipline because that's kind of like, in a way, it's like a little bit more inclusive and a little bit more exciting. And the reason I bring this all up is because Nordic Combined does not have a women's event this year. And I think, Patrick probably knows, I think it's the only event this Winter Olympics that won't have a women's event. Is that correct, Patrick?
It is the last remaining discipline in the Olympics without a women's event. And it is one of two remaining disciplines that is only one gender, the other being rhythmic gymnastics, which is only for women.
Only for women. But God willing, we'll get men in rhythmic gymnastics soon. I just wanted to shout out Annika Malashchinsky, I believe is how you say her name. She is on the U.S. Women's Nordic Combined team, and she's been making a lot of content on TikTok about it. I think we should let those girls compete. Because all the criticisms of why there isn't a women's event in Nordic Combined are the same as, honestly, men's. Because let's face it, you cannot make a popularity argument about basically any winter sport. Almost all of the winter sports are pretty not well known. A sport never gets more popular by not putting it in the Olympics, in my opinion.
Yes, agreed. And I also think that their argument that not enough women are competing in it is wrong, because when they were first added the women's events to the World Championships, Norway won all 3 medals for like the first 2 or 3 editions. Fine, I understand. You don't want to give Norway 3 medals, whatever. I get it. But at the last World Championships, I think it was Norway, Austria, Japan that won the medals. So it's like, not only is it like multiple countries, but also multiple continents. There's Japan actually is very good at Nordic Combined on the men's side as well. So it's kind of like, let's do it. And there is a lower entrance requirement for the women's version of the sport. But it really is more than anything sexism, not as much, I would say, on the International Olympic Committee standpoint, but more so on the Ski Federation standpoint, the FIS, because the IOC is threatening to remove Nordic Combined entirely from the next Olympics if they don't get enough popularity on the women's side to have women's events. But at the same time, if the Olympics just added the women's events, then there certainly would be the popularity.
Yeah.
Let them girls jump.
Yes.
Let them race.
Yeah. Well, and ski jumping was one of the last men's only events. Women's ski jumping wasn't even added to the Olympics until 2014, which is
and now we
insane.
have Eileen Gu.
Well, she was in freestyle skiing in the big air,
right. Yeah.
Which is basically cooler ski jumping, like in a technical sense.
In a technical sense, higher, more impressive.
Yeah, they do more flips. It was ice hockey. What I think was the next one you want to talk about.
Well, yeah, we could talk about ice hockey.
Hot right now.
The thing that I'm pretty excited about for ice hockey is that this year the NHL is allowing the players from the NHL to participate in the Olympics, which I believe they haven't been able to do since Sochi in 2014.
When we had to beat the Russians.
When we had to beat the Russians.
Oh. And is that Miracle on Ice?
That's 1980.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we're Sochi's 2014. Well, we could talk. We'll talk about it after this.
Got it.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is going to be really exciting because it means the U.S. is always pretty competitive in ice hockey, but I do think the way to get eyeballs on sports like ice hockey during the Olympics, as opposed to just during the regular season, is by having the best of the best in the world. Now, I know it's his own line item here, but there will not be Russian players competing, which I believe Pat has a whole thing prepared for. But I do think it's exciting. I'm excited to see it. I know, like Sidney Crosby, for example, is going to be playing for Team Canada again, which is really exciting for him. I don't really care about him much as a player. But I'm happy for him, I do know there have been a lot of very controversial choices for the men's U.S. hockey team. Specifically, I know they left off this guy, Jason Robertson. I can't say that I pay super close attention to the NHL during the regular season, but I know that was pretty controversial. We'll see if it pays off. I think the U.S. has a much better chance in men's hockey of medaling than they would ordinarily.
Because we're letting our best people play.
Yeah, you could say any hockey player's name and I'd believe you. Like you The only person I know in is it NHL? Yeah.
NHL.
Is Gritty. That's it.
And
I
unfortunately,
tried.
Gritty was not named to the U.S. team, which is a
Pathetic.
mistake.
A mistake. Yeah,
This country
he's
is a
got
joke.
such a reach.
This country's
I
a
know.
fucking joke. It's a
Now,
nightmare.
Yeah, I will say, obviously, hockey really cool right now because of that, the little show called Heated Rivalry. And I just want to say, if you love Heated Rivalry because of the gay and also the fact that there's a sprinkling of hockey in there, I just want to introduce you to women's hockey. Women's hockey is so gay. It is maybe gayer than women's basketball, and that's saying something. There are multiple couples in the women's professional hockey league. If you want to watch hockey because you got intrigued by it because of Heated Rivalry, but you want to, support a league that isn't homophobic like the NHL is, please watch women's hockey. It is a lot of fun. They still hit really hard. And also they date each other. So, I mean, I don't know what's better than that.
Two things. One is if you wanted to watch the men's hockey, you could, like on TikTok where you like watch a video and right below it's like the Subway Surfer video that's playing. You could put on the Olympics and you could just Google boys kissing and then put that next to the thing. And like, same thing. Number two, I think the first one was so good, I don't remember what number two was. It was something about hockey. Oh, you brought up the NHL not allowing players to be in the thing, but like at the Summer Olympics, do they have baseball? Like, can baseball players or basketball players play?
So,
Dan, what a crazy question.
Okay. So basketball players definitely play at the Summer Olympics, but because it is the off season for the NBA. And the WNBA, it is in season during the Summer Olympics, but the WNBA sucks less than the NBA and lets the women go and play in the Olympics because why wouldn't they? The NHL has to stop games for 2 weeks in the middle of their season, which I get, in order to let their people go and play in the...
Historically, they have not liked that.
Yeah, historically, they have not liked that. And to go play in the Olympics, which I get it, 2 weeks of no games, fine. And the bigger issue is, the NHL is way more international than most of our leagues are. We have tons of players from other countries, Finland, Germany, Estonia. I mean,
Russia.
All of these, Russia, all of these different places, plus, Canada and the US where there are teams.
Yeah, half the NHL's in Canada.
Yeah. The other, but anyway, the other part of it, though, is that the players want to play in the Olympics so bad that the last time they threatened to shut down the league for salary negotiations, part of the agreement they got between the Players Association and the owners was, you have to let us play in the Olympics. So they're actually legally required to let their players play in the Olympics because that's the bargaining agreement they agreed to. Unions work. And yeah, so it's very cool that has happened. It was supposed to happen in 2022, but because of COVID, the players decided that it was okay to not play then, which is understandable. But yeah, it'll be the first time since 2014. Now, the part about baseball is a little bit trickier because baseball is kind of on or off in the Olympics, and the MLB has never let their players play in the Olympics, and that's why baseball got booted from the Olympics the first time, because
there isn't enough talent without the MLB. Yeah.
And it was either retired players or college players. And also, like, when Greece hosted the Olympics in 2004, out of the entire Greek baseball team, only one player was born in Greece. Everybody else was born in the US. So nice. They were kind of like, okay, maybe not. So anyway.
The other number two in hockey, can they fight?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. That's the best part of hockey.
I will say I think they do fight occasionally. They're not really supposed to fight in international hockey.
You're not really supposed to fight in any hockey, I don't think, but...
Well, I know, but if you go to a hockey game in the NHL and there's not a fight, then I want a refund.
Yeah.
But
I must see people beat the shit out of each other. That's a sport I'm into. Like,
wow, I have a sport for you. It's called boxing.
yeah, but they have gloves. That's like commission. That's like, I want like the whole team out there kicking the shit out of each other.
I actually wish they fought in soccer too.
I wish they fought instead of rolling around on the ground.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was gonna say they just roll around. Like, I'd rather see one of those people like headbutt somebody else. I would be a huge soccer guy if there was.
If we're gonna start fighting in soccer, it's got to be women's soccer.
Yeah.
They'll do it.
Well, and I was going to say, if there's a point where fighting does start in soccer, it will be women's soccer.
Hell yeah. Sorry. All right, those are my questions about hockey.
No, all good.
I think the thing is the big banner thing with hockey this year is, although the U.S. is very competitive, not the best, but very competitive in men's hockey. This is probably one of our best chances at medaling because all of our talent is there and Russia is not. And Russia is sort of like the big, I mean, in all Winter Olympic sports, but particularly with hockey, they're, kind of the big favorite.
Yeah. And I would also, and that's certainly true on the men's side. I will say the women's team will certainly medal again.
Oh, yeah.
Like always, they'll probably be in the gold medal match with Canada because the U.S. and Canada are the best in the world in women's hockey. Because, surprise, like every other sport literally ever, our women, the American women are some of the best in the world because our American female athletes are
Title IX, baby.
Yeah, are, again, some of the best in the world, and we don't recognize them enough. Instead, we just make jokes about the WNBA, which is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because we've danced around it a couple of times, I think probably now would be a good time to talk about Russia and Belarus. And it kind of is the caveat to everything that's going to happen at the Olympics this year is that for the most part, Russians and Belarusians will not be at the Olympics because of the whole, war with Ukraine thing. That happened actually in between the Olympics and the Paralympics in 2022. Was when Russia invaded Ukraine. Russian athletes and Belarusian athletes, because Belarus helped, have not been allowed to compete at international sports in most of the sports. And the ones they were allowed to compete in they've been competing as neutrals. So only a handful of Russian and Belarusian athletes are competing. I think right now the tentative number is, I'm trying to find, there it is, 15 athletes total, where normally Russia would bring somewhere close to 100 athletes. So it is a huge number of athletes that would normally be at the Olympics and be competitive in many of the events that are not allowed to compete. There will be some Russians in figure skating, like one per event. I know in ski mountaineering, I want to say in luge, maybe. A couple of sports there will be some Russians and Belarusians, but by and large, they're probably not going to be in the event, and in many cases would have been competitive. So it's not to detract from anybody who wins an Olympic medal, but it is something that will be brought up, especially in figure skating, for example. In the women's figure skating, it's going to be those people won the medals because the Russians weren't there.
Yes.
And what I will say is not to be a Russian apologist at all, because I'm not. The Russian government has done a lot of terrible things, in particular to LGBT people, minorities, etc. And what they're doing in Ukraine is awful. But the Russians and Belarusians were banned on a technicality, really more so than the violence that they're committing in the world, which is why Israel and the United States and the UAE and places like that sponsor violence are and commit terrible acts of violence are allowed to compete. Basically, Russia got banned because they incorporated parts of Ukraine. They conquered already into their sporting infrastructure, and that's why they got banned. It had nothing to do with the war itself. And so it's kind of this whole thing where it's like, if you're actually, as the International Olympic Committee, if you actually cared about the atrocities being committed, then you would be taking a lot bigger stand against more countries than just the Russians. And if you're not willing to do that, then it is the Russian athletes aren't the ones. I mean, some of them might be, but Russian athletes are the ones who generally aren't committing the atrocities in Ukraine. And it is not a lot of these 16-year-old female figure skaters' fault that Russia has invaded Ukraine.
Right.
And so, it probably isn't right that they're not allowed to compete, in my opinion. And also, if the Olympics are supposed to be the best and the best of the best, then in my opinion, and are also supposed to be apolitical, then in my opinion, all of the athletes who can qualify should be allowed to compete.
I think it's also worth mentioning that to some, like Pat mentioned, a lot of Olympians are minors, and it is in order to compete as an independent, first you have to be in a sport where that exists, right? But also you have to prove that you're politically neutral, quote unquote, and that extends as well to like your coaches. So you could be a neutral athlete, but if your coach is not deemed politically neutral, then you can go to the Olympics, but your coach can't come with you. As far as my understanding, I mean, I think it varies sport to sport. I think, asking some of these athletes to be politically neutral is functionally asking them to denounce their home country, which has real ramifications for their lives and their ability to, say, retire from their sport in the future. I mean, yeah, they might be making money now as a professional athlete and have sponsorships, but those don't last forever. I think it's very, I don't want to understate how difficult it is for an athlete to be, if you live in a totalitarian country, it is not safe definitionally for you to speak out against the leaders of your country. That's kind of how it is. I think it's a lot to ask a child or even like a 20-year-old or anybody to do that. I think, it has been much criticized, the decision to ban Russia and Belarus, not Belarusia, because, like Pat said, it's supposed to be politically neutral. It's supposed to be the best of the best. And the Olympics are really, and I don't agree with what Russia and Belarus have done at all, but it's supposed to be a time where everybody in the world comes together and, kind of like a truce, a literal truce. And I think it's really tough to square that, with how it's been kind of carried out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense. Like it's hard, again, the world stage, if you are actively taking over other places.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's a lot. It really does suck for those athletes. Yeah.
Tough to have a world stage if you are not respecting that truce either, that part's tough as well.
Yeah,
definitely. But anyway, and there are definitely, I will say, we are potentially missing out in what's probably going to be a great figure skating competition that could be even better if the Russians were there,
Yeah.
And, from a pure entertainment sporting aspect, it would be, the cross country race. If the Russians were there too, it could be really cool. And the other flip side of it, I guess, is that without the Russians taking as many qualification spots, more countries technically qualify for these events, which is cool. There is a silver lining to it. But again, it's just really a matter of It's not as equally applied across the board because, some countries, the US, pay for a lot of the IOC's budget, for example. And so we're never going to get banned from anything.
No.
But
I think it's time to talk about figure skating with that
There you go.
part, right?
yes, I agree.
Should we start with the women's event?
Yeah, well, give us a brief overview of what's involved. What are the different events in figure skating?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so in figure skating in the Olympics, there are kind of 4 disciplines. There's men's, women's, pairs, and ice dancing. They also all compete together for the team event, which is takes like a combined score of all the participants in the 4 events to reach a top score. And what's exciting about the team event specifically is that different countries tend to be dominant in pairs and ice dance versus men's and women's singles. Specifically, I want to say Japan. Japan specifically, not knocking Japan, Japan's produced some excellent skaters, but Japan is, more competitive in events like the pairs skating. Pairs skating is kind of like your classic Blades of Glory, but only with a man and a woman. There are not same-sex partnerships in pairs skating in the Olympics yet. We can only hope. And pairs skating, I would say, like in America, kind of reached its like peak popularity in probably like the 90s, Pairs skating, unfortunately, we only had 2 teams qualify this year, or we only got 2 slots for America, I should say, because the way they do allocations is very complicated and honestly not worth the time. But that's all to say that even though it's one of those things like gymnastics for a lot of figure skating. Even though we have maybe a lot of the best in the world, we're not allowed to send too many pairs or individuals. So for pair skating, we're sending 2 teams. Interestingly enough, 2 of the top 4 teams at nationals this year for pair skating both had one partner that was not a U.S. citizen. And so they were not eligible. In fact, the top scoring partnership at figure skating nationals, which was only last week, they were really hoping for like an 11th hour citizenship to be granted. And because the woman is from Finland. And unfortunately, that didn't come through before the team was named. So that's all to say that we're sending some of our top people, but that's one of the challenges with pairs skating. It's not uncommon at all that one partner will be a U.S. citizen and one partner will be not a U.S. citizen.
And I will say the citizenship requirement is pretty unique to figure skating. A lot of times in a lot of sports, you can change what country you're competing for without having to become a full citizen. But in figure skating, citizenship is a requirement, interestingly enough. And it is something that is particularly interesting in the European countries because you don't need to change your citizenship to have, full voting rights and all that kind of stuff within the EU. You can like move from Germany to France and vote in French elections and all that stuff. But so it's like unusual for a German citizen to apply for French citizenship. So it becomes a problem when it's like, oh, well, this is the pair that works. And then they got to apply for citizenship. So it's a really interesting system.
Now, the other pair event in figure skating is one of my personal favorites, which is ice dancing. Ice dancing comes from ballroom dancing. So it is essentially ballroom dancing on ice. They don't jump. That's the big difference between pair skating and ice dancing. In ice dancing, it is more about the lifts and about the motion Literally like
Twizzles.
ballroom elements. Say that again?
The Twizzles,
Oh,
right?
the Twizzles. Yeah, the Twizzles. Exactly.
Twizzles.
You know, Twizzles is like a figure, a shape that they
Got it.
skate and spin together. It's about, you know, the storytelling. It's very it remains very art driven, whereas I think it's pair skating to some extent, but definitely the individual events. And this is this is a core tension of all artistic sports. Those have gone very athletic, right? As the technology and the athleticism has improved and the scoring has changed, like, you know, over the last 50 years. It's very similar to gymnastics, where doing increasingly difficult tricks and having a high degree of difficulty is driving, you know, there's a conflict between, there are some skaters that have wonderful artistry, but not, they can't do the best jumps, right? So even though they're wonderful to watch and they're beautiful, compelling performance, they can't do the jumps. With ice dancing, you don't see that quite as much. The artistry is very much baked in. And they use, you know, a little bit of a shorter skate. Our top team to look out for is Chalk and Bates. They've competed, I think, in the last 3 Olympics. They've won like the U.S. national championships 5 times in a row, which is basically unheard of. It's pretty exciting. There aren't a ton of countries that are super competitive in ice dancing. It's basically like the US, Canada, France, Great Britain, Italy, kind of.
Oh,
end of list.
Chalk and Bates are married?
Yes, they are.
That's sick.
Yeah, ice dancing is also, I don't mean this to be funny. I'm 100% serious. Ice dancing is one of the horniest Olympic events.
Absolutely. No, he's 110% correct. Yeah.
In fact, there is Virtue and Moyer, who are a Canadian ice dancing pair in 2018. Their gold medal winning performance, which is incredible from a sporting perspective, literally inspired fan fiction. That that became extremely popular on AO3.
Virtue and Moyer could be honestly their entire own episode, because they were the most dominant ice dancing team for like a very, very long time. And they, you know, it's not uncommon to change out partners in ice dancing and pair skating, just because, you know, you grow apart, you progress at different rates. Virtue and Moyer were together as a partnership. They've since retired, but they were together for like 20 years. They started skating together when they were, I think, 8 years old. And so they had a kind of connection on the ice that was just, I mean, if you want to understand ice dancing, you should look up their gold medal winning performance to, it was a medley from, what's the name of the musical, Pat?
Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge, thank you.
Oh.
Really,
I literally watched it today, actually.
I watched it earlier this week. Literally moving, like it will make you cry. If you're somebody who, you know, you watch So You Think You Can Dance or something, that's, I think it's your best entry into it, because it's approachable music that you can understand. Beautiful. It really, you'll see the lifts, you'll see the dynamicism.
I'm so glad you brought up the difference between ice dancing and the other stuff, because I would have never known. I was reading all of it and I was like, what the fuck's the difference between dancing and figure skating? Like but the jumping is
the jumping.
Super dangerous too, like the jumps, isn't it? Like if you're not a pro, if you're not like an Olympic athlete.
Yeah, I would say the jumps in pair skating, you know, falling on the ice definitely hurts, and people have definitely injured themselves falling on the ice. In pairs figure skating, the real danger is in the lifts, because and the spins, but the lifts in particular, because there is a blade by your face.
Yeah.
And people have gotten cut because they did the lift wrong. So it is definitely the dangerous part. So, you know, again, if you're excited about potential injury, that is definitely one to check out. I would also say I think I am definitely more of a pairs figure skating fan over ice dancing myself, but I'm a big fan of the throws they do in pairs. But I really think a
He
good
loves the classics.
I do. A good distinction I think between ice dancing and pairs is that a good ice dancing routine I think tells a love story, while a good pairs figure skating routine feels like you're going to war.
That's wild.
I could see it. I could
Yeah.
see it. I mean, in 2022, Chalk and Bates did a routine for their pairs or their ice dance program, where she played an alien and he was a human astronaut, I think, and they fell in love in space. So you're not wrong.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There are some wild ideas. I remember, I think it was one of the Russian skaters in 2022 in the men's singles, and he was Elvis. I mean, it's
Yes.
just there are some great things in there.
That's so cool.
Now, one of the things, like, I think if you haven't like locked in to figure skating in a long time, when we were kids and like when figure skating was peak popularity in America in like the 80s and 90s, the Tanya Harding of it all, right? The Nancy Kerrigan era. Figure skating was a very conservative sport. And that's not to say that figure skating is not a conservative sport now. But, I think athletes like Johnny Weir, Adam Rapon, being out and gay, really, I think really did a lot for the sport in terms of like loosening it up. I think also just the greater culture in large has loosened up. In the sense that, for example, I think it's been about 10 years now that athletes, figure skaters have been allowed to compete to music with words, with lyrics. I think that's really opened up a lot of artistry and approachability for the audience, because it used to be, it was like, oh, it's the same 6 classical pieces everybody's
It's
doing.
Swan Lake again.
Everybody's doing Swan Lake. Everybody's doing Bolero. It's just,
Yeah.
boring.
And there will be a Swan Lake.
Oh,
they will
sure.
still happen. But
for example, this year, Amber Glenn, she's not competing at the Olympics, but she did do it at nationals. She competed a program to Lady Gaga, stuff like that. You really, like I mentioned, the Moulin Rouge program from Virtue Warrior. There are a lot more.
Adam Rippon's Coldplay routine.
Adam Rippon's Coldplay. There's a lot of, and Jason Brown, who didn't qualify for the Olympics this year, but he did a Hamilton program a couple of years ago that's very famous. You can find that on YouTube. Yeah.
I guess I just had the impression of like the 90s that it was just like classical,
kind of stodgy.
Yeah.
It has been a big update for sure. And I will say too, most of the athletes, no matter what country they're from, most of them are choosing songs with English lyrics. So, it'll be song, even like, when it's the skater from Kazakhstan, there's a good chance it's still going to be a song that, so it's pretty fun from an American perspective to kind of see what everybody's doing too, because, of the pervasiveness of American culture and all that. But yeah, there's some fun programs out there.
Now, if we may talk about the women's singles program, just while we're talking about kind of breaking molds, what's really exciting. So our 3 athletes this year are Alyssa Liu, Amber Glenn, and Isabeau Levito, I want to say. Oh, I might have said that wrong. What's exciting is that so Amber Glenn is older, not old. Nobody who goes to the Olympics is old.
Yeah.
But Amber Glenn is older than what we have seen most women competing at high level. I think she's 25, 26. Unfortunately, especially in some other countries, we've seen a kind of a trend of skaters getting younger and younger. So it's very exciting to have Amber Glenn be there and be at the top of her game. Amber Glenn is also openly pansexual, I believe, which again, talk about, breaking molds. I think that's really exciting. We also have Alyssa Liu, who is only 20 years old, but competed at the last Olympics and then retired from skating for 2 years. And so has 2 or 3 and has only very recently come back to compete again. You'll know Alyssa Liu because she has, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a septum piercing, but on the inside of your lip. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like on the top, and it's like...
Yeah, and so it hangs down when you smile, and it almost looks like braces. And then she has like raccoon striped hair, which, it's just great to see. Alyssa Liu, Alysaliu.
Got her. Figure skater.
And another thing to mention specifically about Alyssa Liu and Amber Glenn, they both have a triple axel, which I'm happy to explain, but I think we should wait till we get to the men's, what a triple axel is. The gist, though, is that a triple axel is the hardest jump for elite women to compete. And a lot of elite women will be able to do quads, not a lot. Several elite women's figure skaters can do a quad, so spin 4 times rather than doing a triple axel.
What I thought a triple axel was a 3 spin.
It is a 3 spin. Okay, I'll just explain it now. Every jump in figure skating is defined by something called edges, right? So if you think of a skate blade, if you've ever been ice skating, there's like a little dip in the middle of the blade. So there's an inside edge and an outside edge. If you take your foot, right, and you roll your ankle out, that is kind of an outside edge. And if you roll your ankle in, that's an inside edge. So every time you take off for a jump in figure skating, you are skating on one of those edges. Those edges are kind of the foundation of what they used to call figures in figure skating, which used to be a mandatory element of figure skating. That's all to say that the jumps are defined by what direction you're facing when you start the jump, how many spins you do, what edge you take off on, and what edge you land on. And also, if you jump, just jump, or if you use your toe pick, which is the little sharp point at the tip of the skate, to kick yourself up into the air. This is a very big oversimplification. I really hope there are no figure skaters listening to this nitpicking me.
And I will say, too, for those of you who are casual observers of figure skating, I've watched figure skating for like 20 years, and I have no idea what jump anything is. Don't feel bad. Just wait for Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir to tell you, oh, that was a triple axel, and you go, wow, amazing. And that's all you have to worry about, and enjoy the show.
So the thing that makes a triple axel special is that a triple axel, because you start, I believe, facing forward and land facing backwards, it is actually 3.5 rotations rather than 4 rotations.
Because 4, you would go forward?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So you go into every jump except for the axle backwards. And so for a triple Lutz or a triple toe loop, which are some of the other jumps, you enter backwards and you do 3 rotations and land facing backwards still. So it's just 3 full rotations. Triple axel, you go in forward, land backwards, and so therefore it's 3.5. And because of that extra half rotation, that's why it was the hardest jump for so long, because it was more. You were doing more jump.
So the triple axel, in addition to that, what we've historically seen with triple axels is that it is women who are older and more athletic. Like instead of, in figure skating, you really see two types of builds. Historically, you see skinny, young women, and then you see women with more of an athletic build. They have much more built thighs. Like Mirai Nagasu was a little bit older than other figure skaters when she was competing her triple axel. The thing about the triple axel that makes it extra challenging, in addition to that extra half spin, is that your brain does not want to jump up into the air when you're looking at where you're going. It is easier to jump into the air when you're going backwards. So there's like that kind of fear element.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very high degree of athleticism. I want to say there's less than 20 women who have landed a triple axel in international competition, even though there are some women who have been able to do a quad, which was previously considered really only to be within the realm of men's individual figure skating. And even that was like, okay, men will do like 15 years ago, men would do like 3 quads in a 7 jump program
and win
2
the gold.
quads, to win gold. And now, well, we'll get to the men in a second. This is all to say, I love to see the triple axel. I think some of the women who have been able to complete quads, obviously I can't do a quad, so it's not a knock to their athleticism, but there have been, we'll say, coaching scandals about whether it's ethical to teach like a 12, 13, 14-year-old to do a quad before they have great fundamentals. You can't do a triple axel without great fundamentals. You can do a quad without great fundamentals, in my opinion.
Yeah. And especially for athletes that young too, part of it is like their body is still growing standpoint too. So it's but you can get a quad, and that's what the Russians were doing, was training their women to do quads as opposed to the fundamentals that would lead to a good triple axel.
The thought being that because they were prepubescent and they were very small and thin, that it would be easier for them to learn to do the quad quickly, because you don't need as much force when you're lighter. I mean, it's the same thing that's driven the ages younger and younger in gymnastics that thankfully we're hopefully getting away from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I will say too, and I do think we're moving that way in figure skating too, with gymnastics, with Simone Biles and her pure athleticism that has led her to achieve things in that sport that had never been achieved before. We've watched the age of gymnastics increase with Simone continuing to be dominant for a couple of Olympics. And that is something I think we can hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see happen in figure skating as well. But just to pull in a pop cultural reference to kind of the differences in body and what leads to the jumps versus artistry and all of that, for anybody who's seen I, Tonya, the movie that with Margot Robbie, one of the big things that Tonya Harding has had and that had in her career, and that was mentioned in that movie, was that she wasn't pretty and dainty enough. But she was able to do a triple axel because she was more of the athletic type. And so that's kind of part of where she felt like she was being judged unfairly, was because she wasn't this like dainty little girl that they wanted her to be, and instead was doing, the athleticism of the sport as opposed to just the artistry.
And go ahead.
I only have one. I don't have any insight on any of this, except I, Tonya has one of my favorite lines in a movie where her, I think it's, who played her mom? Allison Janney.
Allison Janney.
Yes. Won an Oscar.
She is walking out on day smoking a cigarette, and the coach is like, "Hey, you can't smoke out here." And she goes, "It's fine. I'll smoke quieter." And I just, I lost my shit. I was like, that is so fucking funny, and like just a perfect I don't give a fuck what you were saying line. I'll smoke quieter. All right, you can go back to figure skating.
Yeah, Allison Janney was incredible in that movie.
So good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
A great film. One of the things that I think that has driven a move away from the conservatism in figure skating is that figure skating does have, I believe, like gymnastics, gymnastics used to be scored on a perfect 10 and now has open scoring. Figure skating has had a similar trajectory for greater equity in scoring, to try to correct for some of the subjectiveness of saying, well, and also racism. Frankly, figure skating has had a racism problem definitely in the past.
And to be clear, also, the reason they changed their scoring was because of a cheating scandal.
Yes, that too. Well, the same thing was true in gymnastics.
Well, a lot of sports, including gymnastics, changed it because as a result of the cheating scandal at the 2002 Olympics in figure skating, where the Russian mob literally paid a judge to vote for the Russians, a French judge to vote for or to give a higher score to the Russians. And then in the middle of the Olympics, they ended up rewarding 2 gold medals for the Russian pair and the other pair who would have won if the judge didn't score the Russians too high after being paid off by the Russian mob. So
that is wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's a crazy history. Tanya barely scratches the surface. And I will say, just because I'm sure somebody's wondering, Tanya Harding was never able to successfully land, I believe, the triple axel in international competition, much to her chagrin. As you see in the movie, she was really plagued by, a lot of anxiety, even before the whole Nancy Kerrigan.
The pipe to the leg.
Yeah, the pipe.
Should we talk about the men, though?
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about the men because we are definitely at a point where what is being achieved in men's figure skating, people thought was literally impossible. Even
6 years ago.
Even maybe for the last Olympics, people didn't think what Ilya Malinin, the American top American figure skater, is doing in his free program. So there's a short program and a free program, 2 rounds. Short program is shorter than the free program. In his free program, which is 2.5 minutes, is that right?
It might be 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, not very long. He does 7 quad jumps, one of which is a quadruple axel. He is the only person to ever land a quadruple axel and a backflip.
Excuse me? On ice?
On ice.
Holy shit.
The backflip, Dan, here's the thing about the backflip. The gag is the backflip isn't worth any points. He just does it at the end to show off.
That's for the love of the game.
He does, yeah. The backflip has a long contested, it's not super germane here, but the backflip has a long and contested history in figure skating because it used to be legal, and then they said it's not a legal jump because in order for something to be a jump in figure skating, you have to take off and land on one foot. And they said it was impossible to take off and land on one foot. And then a figure skater did it, and they banned it anyway. You can search it up.
Safety reasons.
For safety reasons. And I don't fully disagree with the safety reasons, but I don't know where we are here as a sport where people are doing 7 quads. I think the backflip is the safest thing they're doing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of complicated rules for how many, it's not just about jumping, right? In your programs, especially when you become an Ilya Malinin, right? It is about jumping in succession. It's about where you time the jumps in the program, if you repeat jumps or not. So other people are doing 7 jumps, some of them are doing 1 or 2 quads. I watched nationals this year, and even though Ilya Malinin has the quads in his program, like a lot of elite athletes in figure skating, they kind of have like an A plan, a B plan, and a C plan for what they're able to do. And Ilya Malinin did 2 or 3 of his 7 quads, and he still beat everybody by like 40 points. It was insane. He simply did not need to do all the quads, so he kind of just like left some in the tank.
They call him the quad god.
they call him the quad god.
No,
Yeah.
to be clear, he called himself the quad god before
Hell
he was
yeah.
even competing internationally, and then has now can do more quads in a program than anyone has before. The only person who could do the quadruple axel 4.5 rotations, and also holds the world record definitely for overall score. He might hold, and the free program, he might also hold the world record for the short program. He will be literally, unless some, knock on wood, something catastrophic happens, he will literally be untouchable in the program.
Untouchable. He is the Simone Biles of men's figure skating for sure. I mean, in terms of just being that dominant and that far above the competition, I mean, we'll see if he can have the longevity in his career of Simone Biles. Not a diss at all. I just love Simone Biles.
And Simone Biles' length of Simone Biles' career is also unheard of.
Totally unprecedented. I think, what's interesting about Ilya Malinin calling himself a quad god is that previously in the last Olympics, they called Nathan Chen the quad god, and he was talked about as being so impressive and crazy and dominant for doing as many quads as he did. And he did like four?
Five, I think.
Five. And that was kind of like unheard of.
Where was he from?
The U.S.
Nathan
as
Chen's
well.
also an American, yeah.
Damn. What's in the water that just makes us so good at male figure skating?
Men's figure skating has been dominated by the U.S. and Japan for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Even the Russians couldn't really keep up. And it is in my opinion, there are two reasons for it. The first is the fact that we have a really good infrastructure for cross training. The other part of it is that little more okay with men in the US and Japan to be gayer. Not that Nathan Chen and Ilya Melinin are both straight, at least publicly, but live in a society where you can go to ballet classes and it's not the end of the world, and that is important in something like figure skating. And also you train alongside somebody like Adam Rippon, who didn't have the quad jumps, but had such beautiful artistry in how he skated that it also pushed figure skating forward in a different way.
Absolutely. I mean, I will say I don't want to count out Evgeny Plushenko. I think he was a very great Russian men's figure skater. But yeah, I think you're right. I also think, some countries really prioritize pair skating. So men, unfortunately, I think in most countries, fewer men are going into the sport than women. And in places that really are dominant in pair skating and prioritize pair skating, they're gonna push those men over to pair skating.
Yeah, like China, Germany. Germany is always a medal favorite in pair skating, and they didn't even qualify in the individual events. So yeah, I agree. I do think that is also definitely part of it.
The quad god has his height and weight listed on his website. Dude's wild. Is he like...
He's 20 years old and extremely 20 years old.
Is he cocky?
Sorry?
Is he cocky?
He's cocky, but in the way that it gives, and I mean this, I don't mean to be mean at all when I say this. He so gives like, I am the president of this youth group. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. That's wild.
He's like, people throw How to Train Your Dragon. They throw toothless stuffed plushies, because that's a big thing in figure skating, throwing plushies onto the ice. They throw Toothless onto the ice because he loves that movie. Ilya Malinin, also part of the Figure Skating Club of Washington. He lives, actually, I realized very recently, he lives like, I don't know his exact address. I'm not stalking Ilya Malinin, but he lives right by the closest Wawa to my work, which was my crash out Wawa when I had to work overnights. Um, and so
Yes.
maybe me and Ilya Malinin shop in the same Wawa. I like to think that we
I
do.
think
I think to really drive home the cockiness point too, though, is that his free program is set to music written for him that
Oh,
incorporates
him speaking. Yes.
his own voice lines.
he's got like
I
that
have to
Chalamet energy. That's the only way I can
Yes,
think of him.
a
yes,
little bit.
yes. And I will say it is a situation, and I do think Timothy Chalamet is very similar in this. Timothy Chalamet, of course, is a very good actor, and that has rubbed into his personality because he knows it. Ilya Malinin knows he's the greatest skater to ever exist. And it is, when you're 20, it's kind of hard to not have that ruin your
How
personality.
could you not? How could you not?
Yeah, if I was doing backflips on ice, I'd be a dickhead too. Like I would be the worst person to be around.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm glad you mentioned him recording himself for his music, because this has been like a kind of figure skating micro trend from my perception, because Star Andrews, who's an alternate for the US team, Star Andrews a couple of years ago skated to a program. She's a woman. Star Andrews skated to a program where she was singing. Like, she recorded herself singing.
Recorded her own track.
Recorded her own track to like a popular song. I can't remember what it is right now, but it was definitely like one of those songs that says like, you know, I'm hot shit. And skated to it. And I think since then, because Ilya Malinin is not the only person at nationals this year who had his own voice on the track. Like, his is notable because it made me chuckle, but a couple people have done it, and I do want to shout out Star Andrews for starting the micro trend.
That is really funny.
It's awesome.
Just a concept of getting into the voice booth for your figure skating.
I think it's so good, like in terms of artistry, like you want to be in control of your artistry. It used to be figure skaters, you know, like their coach would just hand them a track. Their choreographer would just hand them a track, be like, skate to this. And now you're seeing so many skaters really take that level of artistry into their own hands. And I think that is so amazing for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely makes a good show.
For sure.
I think I'm excited for the figure skating stuff now, or anything on ice. I'm just kind of excited to see.
Oh, the ice. It's going to be icy for sure. I wanted to also shout out Maxim Naumov, qualified for the men's program. Maxim Naumov, I'm not sure how, I live in the DMV, so to me, this is the biggest news story ever. But last year, after nationals, several of the competitors, several of the young kids and coaches that were at nationals were unfortunately in the plane crash in over the Potomac River last year, where the plane collided midair with a helicopter. And several members of the figure skating community unfortunately passed away, especially they're mostly from the Figure Skating Club of Boston. And both of Maxine Naumov's parents unfortunately passed away on that flight. And so it's really exciting for him because this is his first Olympics. And he had been talking to his parents about how he could qualify for the Olympics and what he needed to do. He's pretty young, very good skater. It was a very hot competition to see who those second two slots would be after Ilya Malinin. It was kind of like Ilya Malinin and then like a 6-person race for second and third. It's really exciting for Maxime Naumov because he, I think, finished second in U.S. Nationals, and it was he's been like 4th place all season, but like consistently there. So it's really exciting that they named him to the Olympic team. I think talk about an Olympic story for commercials, a sports journalist's dream, honestly.
They're gonna NBC is gonna do the most insane interview you've ever seen with him.
Wall-to-wall coverage of this young man. But we're very happy for him.
Yeah,
and
it is.
A great
it
skater.
is, and and from a non-sporting perspective, an incredible feat to have come back 1 year later and qualified for the Olympics after that happened, tied to the competition you have to perform at in order to go to the Olympics.
Right. Especially because for a while he wasn't even sure if he was going to go back to figure skating. Of course, I think both of his parents were Olympians. I think they were pairs skaters. They were kind of, I hate to put it, in a tragedy like a plane crash, but they were the most famous victims of the plane crash. So, well, obviously it's very sad that they passed. I think it's, really inspiring that he's been able to kind of turn that into something.
Yeah, like
Olympic moment.
Yeah, going to the Olympics. What does the future of the Winter Olympics look like? Are there other sports that are eventually going to be added, they think, or is that something like people don't know?
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting time. So, not to keep it dark for a little bit, climate change is a thing where, we believe in science and all of that here. So, one of the issues with the Winter Olympics is the fact that a lot of the places that traditionally would have hosted the Olympics are having issues having, enough snowfall. And so that is one of the things to consider about the future of the Winter Olympics is everything is a kind of weird thinking about like 20 years from now, what will the Winter Olympics even look like? Is it going to have to be in the Arctic Circle in Finland? What is it? Is it all going to be artificial snow? That kind of stuff. Because they do make artificial snow for the Olympics to ensure that there's enough snow for some of the skiing events and things like that. So, there is that aspect of it. It's kind of everything feels kind of weird. In a more positive side, I will say, is that they are thinking about things kind of in a little bit more of an innovative way, almost as a result. And so a couple of the things that are being considered for the next Winter Olympics, which are 2030 in the French Alps, and it's literally called French Alps 2030, is actually kind of an expansion beyond potential traditional snow and ice sports. So it would take a little bit of work, but the way that it's currently written in the Olympic Charter is that the Winter Olympics can only feature sports that are performed on snow and ice. They're kind of looking at changing that to be something along the lines of, or it traditionally competed in the winter or something like that. And there are like two reasons for doing that. The first is the Summer Olympics have gotten huge. I think there's 36 sports at the Summer Olympics in LA 2028. Just because there's a lot of sports that are there's a lot of athletes competing in them, and some of the sports are like basketball. That is traditionally a winter sport and was designed to be played inside in the winter. That they could consider moving it to the Winter Olympics because it normally happens in the winter. So that's something they're considering. But I think two sports in particular they're really looking at actually is adding a cycling discipline called cyclocross. And a track and field events, particularly cross country running. So the reason for this is that for like two different reasons, I guess is the best way to put it. Cross country running is normally competed in the wintertime, and it's kind of like done in the off season from regular track and field. And it's hard to kind of do cross country and track and field at the Olympics because it's usually the same runners who do both. And so there's a big push by the running federation, athletics federation to have cross country at the Winter Olympics, which would be really cool from a diversity perspective because most of the top athletes in track and field are from Africa, the traditional distance running countries of Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, And, the US is generally competitive. Japan, places like that are good at distance running. So that would help open up, because no African country has ever won a Winter Olympic medal. So that would be, kind of a cool change. But cyclocross, the other sport, cycling, of course, is in the Summer Olympics in general, but cyclocross is specifically a winter discipline, in that it's competed on kind of the gross mud that happens in wintertime in northern places. So like in New Jersey, when the snow has melted and the ground is all like fucked up and muddy and stuff, that is the kind of ground that cyclocross is competed on. It is particularly popular in Europe, but northern US, like Wisconsin, Midwest kind of areas, it's pretty popular as well. So they're looking at adding that potentially as well, which I think would be kind of fun to have in addition to, all the skiing and skating, to also, and here's a bike race, to kind of shake it up a little bit. But cyclocross can't be competed at the Summer Olympics because it like necessitates winter conditions, just not snow and ice. So those are two things. And I think it'd be really cool if those potentially get added. Some of the other things, hopefully ski mountaineering stays. And there's been some contentious issues with them adding a sport as like an optional sport and then removing it for the next Olympics. It was the biggest slight, I think, was with karate, which they added in Tokyo and then didn't keep on for Paris. And everybody was like, what's going on? Why did you do that? So hopefully ski mountaineering stays and expands, and that they add women's Nordic Combined, because, women should be allowed to compete in the same sports as men. And then we'll see kind of what other fun events they add. There is a possibility that they're going to like surprise us with something, because just based off of some of the things people have said, like in press conferences, that they're looking at telemark skiing, which is an additional skiing discipline.
Telemark is very popular too.
Yeah. Speed skiing, which I don't really see happening because it's crazy dangerous. And then the other one is ice cross, which would be crazy if they added ice cross, just because it would be like the process of how things get added, it would be like out of order. But ice cross is literally racing on a special track on ice hockey skates, and running into each other as you do it, because you're going so fast and it's slippery. So that could be fun if that happens.
It's roller derby on ice.
Yeah, pretty much. But like individual. And then also they're also looking at ice climbing as a potential sport. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think all of that's going to happen. I think cyclocross and cross country running could maybe happen as an off chance. And fingers crossed they add women's Nordic Combined, because it's time. And they'll probably add an occasional, like one or two events and different things. They've been adding a handful of new events. This is the first time that women's doubles luge is being competed this Olympics, for example, where it was just men's doubles before, and now they've added women's doubles. So, kind of events like that could be added as well. But I think cross country skiing in particular, cross country running in particular, I think would be really cool, because, it's a winter sport, and it's about time that they diversified enough, that going back to one of our original points, that African countries are competitive in.
Yeah. Now, do you think cross country is one of the sports that like every country could send an athlete in? Well, I don't know. It depends on how they do it. It definitely could be, because because track and field at the Summer Olympics is the sport that basically everybody sends an athlete to. In fact, it's the qualifying rounds of the 100 meters is like really fun to watch, because it might be a country's only participation out of the Olympics. But right now in the Winter Olympics, that's mostly cross country skiing and alpine skiing that kind of allows for that universality. So yeah, cross country could definitely be one of them. And there will definitely be countries who have never sent athletes before to the Winter Olympics who will send an athlete in cross country, and that'll be kind of their first participation, which would be very cool if that's the case.
Well, I'm excited for the Winter Olympics now.
Hell yeah.
And what'd you say they start on the 4th of February?
Yes, competition starts on the 4th with the opening rounds of mixed doubles curling. And the opening ceremonies where things officially kick off is on the 6th. I believe they start 2 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be live on NBC and I think it's CBC in Canada and BBC in the UK. But it is 2 p.m. Eastern. It will be when the opening ceremonies are broadcast live, and then they'll show them again in prime time.
Well, thank you both for being here and doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you got to come back because great energy.
I would love to come back. I love to yap.
Yeah, well, if there's anything you want to talk about, you just let us know. And you can find us at GateCrashers.fan, where we host all of our podcast reviews, essays, all that good stuff that we do. You can find us there. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
The GateCrashers.